They're up, they're down, they're over, they're out. And Philadelphia and New Jersey football fans want to know why. Eagles, why? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Why Eagles Why. Dave Bontempo along with Bill Gelman and Pete Amato. This is your weekly blood pressure pill or maybe the therapy session for the Philadelphia Eagles. The doctors are in today, or maybe they're the patients. We'll get right to it. The show is in 4 quarters plus overtime. Before we get started, we'd like to ask you to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. All right, guys, welcome to the program. It's so great to see both of you again. And we vented last night during the Eagles game, the 41-21 setback to the Dallas Cowboys, a laundry list of problems. Bill, the first vent goes to you.
3, and come back to the number 3. Number of running plays. We're not talking about a single drive by the Philadelphia Eagles. What in the world were you thinking? 3 running plays for a total of 29 yards. Put that number in perspective. Jalen Hurts, when he couldn't find his receivers open, I think he had more rushing yards than Sanders and Kenny G put together. I mean, what are you thinking, Nick Siriani? You're wearing a Beat Dallas t-shirt all week and you don't come to play with a game plan in Dallas?
Oh, my goodness. The numbers that you can go over, whether it's the penalties or the lack of offensive plays. And one of my favorite ones to look at for numbers was end of the first half, Dallas is punting from the end zone. You should at least get that ball near midfield. These are points. They end up on their own 24-yard line, a 74-yard flip of the field between the long field and the penalty and the backward motion. Well, how about you, Pete? Now, we've had our venting. One thing you pointed out during the week and leading up to the game was that Jalen Hurts has some technical deficiencies as far as the reads.
Yeah, after the first week, our first episode, I got killed with Jalen Hurts defenders. But I see it again this week. He just doesn't look like a franchise quarterback. He looks like a one-read quarterback, and that's exactly what he did again this week. He made that first read. He stares his receivers down, and if they're not open, he flushes the pocket and runs out of the pocket. It's just not how you're gonna win in the NFL. It worked in college for him. It's not going to work in the NFL, and I see it time and time again with him. And you can kill me again for it, but I still don't think he's our franchise quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a franchise quarterback.
Probably never more evident than in the pick 6 that started up the second half, when he could have held a press conference to announce where that pass was going to go. And that is where the defender cut in front of it and ran all the way to pay dirt. Now, Bill, not only were we talking about that during the game, but you had made a good point earlier about how good the Dallas defense had been playing.
Yeah, I mean, you had to be prepared to go up against this Dallas team. They were leading the league in turnover differential. They made the Eagles pay again last night, and it was clear that the Dallas defense knew what was coming by the Eagles offense last night. I mean, you look at the scoring plays of the Eagles. The 309, when the Eagles scored their last touchdown of the game was won. That was a meaningless touchdown. Take away Fletcher Cox's fumble recovery for a touchdown. Suddenly the 21 points, you have like nothing left. The Eagles were how did they score the other? I don't know. It was such a forgetful game.
Yes, to Hurts was the first touchdown, but all that did was even it up. Before that, it was Dallas Cowboys defense 7, Philadelphia Eagles defense 7, Philadelphia Eagles offense 0. And this was in the third quarter. A lot of venting. So anybody who had bet the Cowboys to cover that spread of 3.5, they felt like they romped. And the bettors and the Eagles fans who knew better than to hope against hope, they came out with winners with their selections. So the Eagles come off of a bad loss. What's it going to take to rebound? Well, we'll take another look at them in the second quarter. Welcome back to Why Eagles Why. The Eagles 1-2, and you talk about conflicting signs. The win over Atlanta, the loss to San Francisco, and the blowout loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Well, guys, 3 weeks. What's the report card so far?
I'll be nice and give them a D. Because
all right, so what is your thoughts about not ready? Are they stuck in a bad place? Where do you see them right now?
I just don't think this team is ready. I go back to what I said in one of the first episodes, that this team should have seen more minutes during the preseason, because the wide receiving core is young. Jalen Hurts is still, they brought it up in Monday Night Football last night, he's still considered a rookie quarterback, because now he's started in 7 NFL games so far. And you take a look at the Falcons game in week 1. Clearly the Falcons are a really bad team, because the Eagles played tougher competition these last 2 weeks, and it's night and day. They were outperformed on every level. And the Eagles, another thing they said in the show last night, the Eagles are their own worst enemy right now.
All those penalties killing them at a point in the game when when it was up for grabs. Pete, how does this team strike you after 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think Bill hit the nail on the head there. The Falcons game now really shows us how bad the Falcons are, and the Eagles are just not a good team. They're not ready to face any good competition in the NFL right now. It just looks like a bunch of players out there that are just on a team. They don't work together. There's no consistency in the team. There's penalties. The coach looks like he's totally lost. I mean, having 3 official run plays in a NFL game is ridiculous. I mean, it sounds like he's a high school coaching play right there. So I would say D minus. I mean, I think they don't look good at all right now for their future.
And I think that we would agree that Dallas is head and shoulders above the division right now.
Absolutely.
But now with all the offseason business with the Eagles, okay, Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz, the hot debate. Well, between them, they are 1-5. Well, do you want Carson Wentz back, or do you like the Jalen Hurts route?
I still want Carson Wentz back. He's playing hurt. The coach probably shouldn't have played him last week. I mean, if you watch the game, he couldn't move. I mean, and he still tried. I still think he's a much better quarterback than Hurts. And I think he still is going to be a successful franchise quarterback. Like I've been saying this the whole time, I just haven't seen it with Jalen Hurts. I just haven't seen that franchise quarterback yet. I haven't ever, besides one or two good flashes of good play here and there, he's just consistently not good.
No, and yet you get those deceiving yardage numbers and touchdown production at the end of games for him. So it looks a little better than it is. Now, how about you, Bill? I'll throw that same idea to you, because we did stories together on Wentz and Hurts and that whole offseason saga. Would you rather have Hurts or would you rather have Wentz?
I'm going to pick the option that you didn't give me. I don't know if I want either one.
Neither.
Because in my mind, Carson Wentz, he can't make it through an entire season healthy. And it's just like, if you're talking about building for a team for the future, you can't have a quarterback who you don't know week to week if he's going to be healthy. Hurts, unless he starts showing us something, I think he's going to be he could possibly, I'm not going to rule him out yet. He could possibly be a career backup quarterback unless he starts getting a game plan down and being able to adjust, finding his other wide receivers when the first one's not open. So what I'm getting at is I almost would like to hit the reset button if this season is a lost season, and maybe use our first round pick, because we could have 3 first round picks next year. I wouldn't mind using a first round pick on a better quarterback next year if there's a decent enough quarterback in the draft, or maybe sign one during the offseason. But I'm not ready to throw in the towel on Hurts yet. I just know I don't want to Wentz just because of his injury history.
Or we can trade for Aaron Rodgers next season because he's not going to be happy being in Green Bay.
Yeah, I heard he wants to go to San Francisco.
Well, I did say in the beginning, on the first episode, I said by the end of the season, Minshew is going to be our starting quarterback.
That's
still a possibility.
That still is hold on to that prop ticket as we come to the end of the first half of the show, and we'll head into the second half. All right, the third quarter of why Eagles against Kansas City. Well, why is that on the schedule? That's what Eagles fans might be asking. What are you guys' thoughts on this game?
Go ahead, Pete.
A lot of red, bloodbath. I think it's going to be a bad game. I mean, they're a 7.5 point underdog right now. I think Andy Reid's going to come in and do what he does best, and that's win. I think a lot of Eagles fans, he might get a good ovation. Not that the Eagles are really bad, he might not, but I think he should. I think he's the greatest Eagles coach of all time, one of the best coaches in the NFL of all time. I like Andy Reid. I mean, he brought a lot of winning, fun seasons to the Eagles, and I'm just not excited to see what he's going to do to the Eagles this week.
Well, what are the odds that we would have thought coming in, Bill, that you would be looking at the Eagles and the Chiefs and saying, combined, these teams have lost 4 games in a row?
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are their division is not as it's becoming balanced. You have a Raiders team that's 3-0 now. San Diego is a much improved team. San Diego. I did with like I do with Washington. LA is they're a up and coming team, and so you have it's not the Chiefs. Everyone chasing the Chiefs anymore. The Chiefs have a lot of tough competition now, and there's no guarantee they're going to make it to their third Super Bowl in a row. With that being said, they're still a much better team than the Eagles.
Well, yeah. When did you feel that we would ever be talking about the Chiefs having lost 2 games in a row? Although both of them thrilling games against the Ravens and against the Chargers. But now you saw what Dallas did last night with Dak Prescott, picked apart at will. What about Patrick Mahomes? You're looking at that saying, well, you might have to look at that from a betting standpoint maybe and say, well, I'm leaning on the over, but that's pretty high too. What about that matchup against Mahomes, Pete? How do you try to contain him?
I think it just comes down to the defensive line putting pressure on him. I mean, that is still the best part of the Eagles team, is a healthy defensive line. They just have to, like you said, contain him. He's going to score. He's going to get his yards. But if the defensive line can just put some pressure on him, I think that's the best, our best chance of actually containing the best quarterback in the NFL. So,
yeah, and plus you've got all those weapons. You've got Tyreek Hill deep, and Travis Kelce, a phenomenal tight end, and especially on third down, maybe none better in football.
Yeah, it's true.
And then all the scrambling that he does. Yeah, Pete, what are some of the wild card elements with Mahomes, and what do you think some of the things the Eagles will attempt to do, other than what's been said here, about trying to stop him? I mean, do you try to keep him off the field? How do you play Mahomes?
Well, yeah, every team's going to try to keep him off the field. That just comes down to more of the Chiefs defense and the Eagles offense. But I think the Eagles are going to have trouble. Their linebacking crew, they haven't had a good linebacking crew in a while. And like you said, Travis Kelce is arguably the best tight end in the league. And he's going to have a lot of open space out there. So they might double up Kelce and blitz Mahomes to put a little pressure on him. I think that's like their only chance is the kind of blitz and maybe a spy, so he doesn't get too out of hand on his scrambling. But the only way, you can't let him sit back there and have all day to throw the ball. So if we can't get pressure on him with our front four, we're gonna have to send some blitzes.
Bill, when you look at this game and you see the Chiefs, what is the first thing that comes into your mind?
A repeat of Monday night.
Oh, that would mean 62 points. So let's look at it that way too, and basically very difficult to stop him. I mean, he can score at will.
Yeah, if you can't contain Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, you know, how are you going to do it against the Chiefs, who have played in 2 straight Super Bowls, one Super Bowl in the last 2 years? I mean, it's they're not magically going to hit a light switch and the offense going to suddenly click less than a week later. This team pretty much needs to play the whole, unless Siriani has a whole book of running plays that he just didn't show us last night, and you know, they're going to open up the run game. I don't see that happening either. I'm going in. I hate being an Eagles fan like this, but I just see myself going into this game and saying, this can be another long afternoon on Sunday.
Well, you hit a couple of bets last night, Bill, which is good. I think we all did. And some bettors can be grateful to Sirianni for leaving Jalen Hurts out there when it was 41-14 so he can get his yardage and touchdown props. You know, we had an interesting one on Play NJ yesterday, Bill, about the first Eagles score. If it came from a defensive player, it was plus 2,500, and that came in with the defense coming through. And Pete, when you look at the game with the Chiefs, there are going to be a lot of prop betting opportunities and money to be made for people with the offensive numbers.
Yeah. With the offensive firepower of the Kansas City Chiefs, I think there are a lot of prop bet opportunities, especially with Travis Kelce, Pat Mahomes, and the rest of that offense. You have a lot of prop bets opportunities for scoring props.
All right, the Kansas City Chiefs, the human over, and the Philadelphia Eagles will clash for week number 4. That's the end of our third quarter. We'll be back to take a look around the league and some other topics. Welcome back to the fourth quarter of Why Eagles Why. And I want to throw this question out. The New York Giants are winless. And Bill, I don't think they've recovered emotionally from the way they lost the Washington game in week 2 on the final play, jumping offside. And they did it again against the Atlanta Falcons, losing on the final play.
Yeah, I realized I've been giving the Giants too much credit these first 3 weeks. I think I praised them in 2 of our first 3 episodes, and clearly they might be in worse shape than the Eagles. I didn't think I could say that, but it's not a pretty sight being a Giants fan right now. I think they're going through a tougher time than us Eagles fans.
I think there is a carryover the way you lose a particular game when you need to get on the board, and they didn't get the win in week number 2. So the Giants then have to go play the New Orleans Saints. So 0-4 is looking like it's brewing for them. But there's a compelling story, Pete, in the NFL. Tom Brady goes back to New England.
Yeah. I think every football fan is excited for this game, whether you're a Tom Brady fan or a Patriots fan. I know I'm excited to watch this game. Basically, to watch Tom Brady kind of stick it to Bill Belichick. I think most people are rooting for Tom Brady on this game, especially because how they kind of split up in the first place. But but I'm definitely looking forward to the game, to see two greats come back together again and see what happens.
Yeah, and who was supposed to get all the credit for that dynasty? That's been a raging debate. We've talked on the show about the Eagles and their quarterback problems, and a lot of people look at the college ranks and say, well, there is your savior. We're seeing a lot of struggling by these guys coming out. We said Lawrence with a pick six against Arizona that changed that game, and Zach Wilson has just been flat out awful for the New York Jets. What is it about the transition? Why do people anoint these quarterbacks as saviors when they realize there's a lot of adjustment to get into the NFL? Bill, I'll throw this one out to you, and then Pete, I'd like you to chime in that one too.
I think it's in the case of the Jaguars and the Jets, I think the problem is they're two of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, they need a lot more than a quarterback, and it's probably going to take 2 or 3 drafts and a couple good summers of free agency before we can really judge if either of those have it. But it's I know I have Zach Wilson as a backup quarterback on my fantasy team, and I don't think he's even given me 10 points yet. So I think sometimes they come out too early. Other times it's getting back to a previous point I made, that it's a night and day difference going from the top college program to the NFL. There's a lot more to learn: playbook, time management, new players you got to get in sync with.
Pete, I'm going to interject with another thought before I throw that same question to you. All right, they crucified Sam Darnold with the Jets, and now he's 3-0 with Carolina. Boy, a change of scenery was good for him. And maybe it shows you that it was their culture and not him.
Well, yeah, anytime you can leave the Jets to go to another team, I guess that's a plus. I mean, a lot of people always liked Sam Darnold. I think you saw that there was talent there, and he needed that change of scenery, get away from that that franchise that has just not been good for a long time. And getting back to your to rookie quarterbacks, I just think there's not a lot of good quarterbacks in the league. So teams are desperate to see these guys out of the draft and just plug them in when they're still young. I mean, a lot of these guys haven't even played 4 years in college. Yeah. A lot of them only played 1-2 years. So I just don't think they're ready. I don't think they're ready to play. But like I said, there's so many bad quarterbacks in the NFL. People are so desperate, they're just going to plug them in. And that's just not how it works for a lot of these guys.
I was stunned that the media criticized the Jets for winning a late season game because they said, now we won't be able to get Trevor Lawrence. And that's when they had Sam Darnold. And now Sam Darnold is outplaying Trevor Lawrence significantly. What was everybody thinking anointing these guys? And I think that's the most puzzling thing to me, how people think that the answer is always in the college ranks. Well, that's our fourth quarter and some parting shots just ahead. Welcome back to Why Eagles Why Overtime Parting Thoughts. Well, mine is I just love this reunion with Brady and Belichick. So that's a compelling story for me. And then we'll just see how the game goes. But I think Brady wants to stick it to his old team, and he's in a good spot to do it. How about you, Pete?
I like the Cleveland Browns at Minnesota. I like that game. I like the Cleveland Browns are only given 2.5 points. It's in Minnesota, but I think I would take the Cleveland Browns in this game, given 2.5 points. I like their offense. They have an exciting team. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I think the Vikings are a pretty good team, but I think the Browns will cover that 2.5 points.
The Vikings have been the cardiac kids, and that is going to be an exciting game.
Yeah.
How about you, Bill?
And the game that caught my eye is the Rams, the LA Rams. Football is back in LA. They're only giving up 4.5 points against an Arizona team that had a difficult time against Jacksonville. They ended up pulling away late. Rams team is coming off a 34-24 victory over Tampa Bay at home. So I just think 4.5 points It's plenty of points. They don't,
I
they're
agree.
not gonna have any trouble covering that spread.
All right. So we have one more thought on here, Bill. The Eagles. What a predicament, huh?
Yeah, the road's not going to get any tougher, guys. I mean, you have the Chiefs at home, Carolina, who's 3-0 with Sam Darnold, who we just talked about not that long ago. That's in Carolina. Then you have a Thursday night game against Tom Brady on a short week. You know, the Eagles can't even prepare on a full week for a game. How are they going to prepare for Tom Brady on a short week? And then they have the Raiders in LA, followed by the Detroit Lions in Detroit on Halloween. That might be the, or are we going to have to wait till they play the Giants and Jets before we can start talking about wins again? It's not so easy to predict a schedule.
All right. So the Eagles are laboring, and the fans are asking after the game, why? Eagles, why? For Pete Amato and Bill Gelman, this is Dave Bontempo saying so long until next time, and thanks for joining us.